And we got a note from her daughter who said, like, Thursday that she was in hospice care, and we got a note Friday saying she died this week.
She was over Concord.
Yeah, she was kind of, and then she moved to another facility that was probably a step up in care, maybe a couple months ago. And
Because I called Concord Park to
Yeah.
see if she could have a visitor. And I said, oh, she's not here. But they didn't
and
want
they won't tell you where she goes. They don't have time. So so she died this week. Do you remember Brenda Hardiman?
I can't picture her face, but her name I heard.
Yeah, well, she also, her husband was Ken Wilson. He wasn't that. She had a daughter who was active here with her, and she also died on July 4th. So yeah. So people leaving us and leaving us.
During the renovation of 2007-11, I removed the raised area there. And this had to be the same color as the temple. This is for a handicapped person that can set up in the rooms. But Jenny was able to get in the temple. That's good.
Yeah, I think
gym.
Oh, okay, okay.
But there's a bunch of, where's,
This
I
is my
live
son
in
Finch. This is
Finch. I'm just trying to figure out how to stay close without disrupting
okay.
the
Yeah.
work leaders.
Yeah. No, that's good. Hey, how are ya? Good. Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Are you
Can
gonna
you? I'm
follow her
sitting.
around?
I'm in the fifth pew. And you just want to
Fifth
sit
pew.
next to me and do that. That would be great.
Now that the mic's on, I'm going to try that one more time. Good morning. Oh, that was beautiful both times. Thank you all. Welcome to First Parish in Concord. My name is Reverend Elizabeth Ide, and my pronouns are she, her. I serve this community as our acting associate minister for congregational care. First Parish is a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and love lies at the center of our faith. We covenant to transform and grow spiritually and ethically as we adapt to our changing world. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life. In this congregation, we affirm that Black lives matter as we embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. We are also members of a consortium of UU congregations, including First Parish in Concord, Bedford, Lexington, Lincoln, and Waltham. We are so delighted to worship together this summer and to host you all for the second time in a row. You will find a printed copy of the schedule of summer services and their locations with your order of service. You might also find a fan. If you don't have one, I believe we have more available. So even if you don't think you need one, maybe just, It's hot today, folks. So welcome to this sun-warmed adventure, this fanned adventure as we journey along our towns to worship with kindred UUs in a variety of local congregations this summer. If you are visiting us online this morning, welcome. Why don't we give a wave to the back camera over there? Hi, everybody. And if you are visiting in person, we invite you to stop by the welcome table after service and say hello. Masks are optional throughout our building, including in this space. We continue to use enhanced ventilation and encourage masking to keep our communal spaces safe for everyone. Childcare is available in the church parlor, and parents and caregivers are welcome to either drop off their kids and rejoin us here in the sanctuary, or remain in the parlor where today's service will be streamed. And I am so happy to introduce the Reverend Dr. Jim Sherblum, our worship leader today. Jim, with his wife Loretta, brought their children Sarah and Robert up here, where Jim was ordained in 2004. And he and Loretta have been members of First Parish for nearly 40 years. Jim earned an American History degree from Yale, an MBA from Harvard, an MDiv and DMin degrees from Andover Newton Theological School, where he served as chair of the Board of Trustees. Jim has Parkinson's disease, and so we have made some accommodations so that he could preach from our pulpit. We are so very happy to also hear Mads, Jock, Sam, and Jim testifying about resilience this morning. We also want to extend a special welcome to our guest musicians, the Green Leaves Ensemble, and to the Thoreau Society, who are holding their annual gathering this weekend. Welcome to Jim and Loretta. Welcome to Mads, Joke, and Sam. Welcome to the Green Leaves, and welcome Thoreau Society. We have a couple of announcements. Following our service today, we will have a worship sharing circle. That's a time of shared exploration into what worship meant for you today. That meets in the Brooks Room and online following the service. Please join us for coffee hour in the parish hall downstairs and on the patio outside. If you need help with anything, assisted listening devices, play packets for the kids or for the grown-ups, directions to the restrooms, please see one of our greeters and they will help you. Today's coffee hour will be especially festive, as all are invited to join us in honor and celebration of Eric Haneke, our retiring First Parish organist. There will be special refreshments and an opportunity for us to thank Eric for over 2 decades of providing beautiful music for our congregation and community. We are so grateful to the Women's Parish Association and the music ministry for hosting so that we can wish Eric well for his next chapter. And with that, let us now begin our worship by joining our voices in song. Our opening hymn is number 187, It Sounds Along the Ages, to the tune of Lancashire.
Please be seated. The words to that hymn were written by a late 19th century transcendentalist Unitarian minister. And I love it. It's one of my favorite hymns because he never describes what it is. So what is it? Why do we sing about it? Well, the force he's talking about, I call the life force of the evolving universe. But that has to do with my theology. You may call it the spirit of life, Holy Spirit, the breath of God, or Yahweh, Allah, or Krishna, or perhaps that which cannot be named. It sounds along the ages forever resounding. It is what permits and encourages resilience in the face of human suffering. Humans suffer, but resilience allows us to move beyond. And it's in that spirit we're going to offer up 4 stories today by how, when challenged by difficulties and needs, one can choose either to yield to them or find a way to transcend. But please join me as Reverend Ide lights the chalice in these chalice-lighting words. O flame of our faith, open our hearts and fill our bodies and souls with persistent strength, enliven our spirits, and engage us deeply in this life of ours, this sacred, essential moment now. Amen.
morning. My name is Mads Reeves. Many of you may know me from the spoken word poems that I write.
We put it in a precarious spot, so
Thank you. The last time I was standing in this pulpit, I read an original poem titled Dear Mama, which reflected on my journey towards forgiving my biological mother. She was forced to abandon me at 1 month old, most likely due to the one-child policy, which was strictly enforced in China at the time. This is my story of being adopted and letting go of my resentment towards her, in which I've learned a great deal about resilience along the way. Without a doubt, being adopted presents many challenges. The initial trauma of being taken from my life in China presented itself as fear and anger, each tantrum tearing through with guns blazing. However, if I wanted to succeed in my new life, I was going to have to be resilient. I managed to learn English, join the public school system, and make friends with people who did not look like me. Being Asian in a predominantly white community led me to feel alienated among those who did not know my story. I juggled wanting to hold on to my Chinese culture while also trying to fit in with my American peers. Additionally, being adopted forces me to live with many unknowns, such as who my biological parents are, my medical background, and the possibility of having siblings. Meanwhile, I wrestled with the anger I felt towards my birth mother, which gnawed at me from the inside out. That being said, even before I could be called resilient, I was most definitely persistent. This quality, while helpful at times, has also led me to have a hard time quitting anything. It took an injury for me to drop a sport, getting dumped for me to leave a relationship, and recently a run-in with some pretty terrible management for me to quit a job. So why am I so afraid to resign from things that are no longer serving me? Why was I so unable to let go of the resentment I was harboring, which certainly never brought my birth mother any closer? The answer lies in the challenge itself: quitting. Whether on a surface level or at my core, I saw my birth mother as a quitter. She gave up on me, our relationship, and everything it could have been. I struggled to understand her dire situation and nearly impossible choice. If she didn't have enough money to raise me, why couldn't she just make more? Why was I not good enough? And so, without even knowing it, I vowed from a young age that I wouldn't give up on anything so easily. Since then, I've accepted that it is, in fact, not easy to give up a child. Additionally, I've learned that love isn't a game you necessarily quit, but it is powerful and glorious and can be reshaped in many ways. While my relationship with my mother was forever changed when she left me in a basket, the love wasn't abandoned. It was simply transformed into her wish for me to have a better life. One of the greatest gifts I have given myself is the art of forgiveness. While grief can muddy the waters, resentment can be overcome. I have found not only a way out, but a way through. While my birth mother is no longer in my life, I carry pieces of her with me everywhere I go. From my eyes, to my nose, to my determination and grit, I see her in myself. I have grown into an ambitious person, eager to help others who have experienced trauma and lead them towards a happier life. My mother sacrificed a daughter for me having a chance of a safe home and a good education. I will be sure not to waste such a blessing of opportunity. I will continue to live with purpose in her honor. This past year, on my birthday, I blew out 18 candles and wished my birth mother a lifetime of happiness. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everybody. great to see you all here, and this is my first time to stand in this pulpit. I've never been here, only to do some cleaning and setup here. Okay, today is the day, a special day, whereby everyone need to know where I came from and why I'm here in the state, and which is great. And I see so many lovely faces here, and I'll be on the street later on, and I want everyone to say hello to me. Okay, to begin, I just want to tell you a little bit of my life story. My name is Jok Ngor. I'm a Dinka by tribe and Christian by faith. I was born in 1978 in a village named Mabior in Awil district of South Sudan. My father and my mother had many children, me, my 3 brothers, and my 3 sisters, like many Dinka men. My father had multiple wives, so my sibling and I were raised with our half-sibling as well. Our large family was very poor. No one had ever had an opportunity to attend school. My parents were farmers. That's our life, or my family. From the age of 7 and 9, I attended the herd, taking care of my family, cow, goat, and sheep, like David in the Bible. Like David in the Bible. It was my responsibility to protect our cattle from the predators, animals like lions and hyenas. Do not let your animals go alone, otherwise they will be eaten by animals that you don't even want your cow to be touched. And to assure that the cattle will not wandering off and get lost in the desert or forest. Herding cattle is a major part of a Dinka's way of life, forming the basic of our livelihood as a family. In 1983, a war broke out between Arab/Muslim North Sudan and the Black African people of South Sudan. This North-South conflict lasts more than 20 years, killing millions of people. A radical Muslim government troop massacred a Dinka and other southern tribes, many of whom were Christian. They attacked our village to force their religion belief on us. Can you imagine somebody just force whatever you believe to you? That's not fair. In 1987, a group of Arab Muslim raiders my village, setting fire to my family house, stealing our animal, and barely killed 2 of my brother and my uncle. Tragically, afterwards, her sons and brother slaughtered. My mom died of heart attack. The raiders stole livestock, abducted children, raped women, and killed countless villagers. In the shoes, I couldn't find my family, so hide in the wood with a friend. With my loved one, nowhere to be found, I joined a group of Dinka children and the long journey to a neighboring Ethiopia, along with 1,000 of Sudanese orphans. We walked for 3 months through the desert in a terrible condition. Who can walk 3 months without food or water? We live on the leaves and stagnant water. Those are the ones that we've been surviving for 3 months. Along the way, many people, including my friend died of hunger, dehydration, disease, or were killed and eaten by a lion. A lion is the major animal, is a big animal that can kill and eat human. But the rest, they're good, but they're not friends. After walking hundreds of miles through a desert, I reached Ethiopia in 1988, assigned to a UN refugee camp for the next 4 years. The camp was overcrowded and lack of sufficient food, water, and medicines. We were given a tiny amount of food, barely enough for 3 days, and told us for a week. You're given a small, tiny food, and then they tell us that it's for 7 days, but it's not. So somebody timing you in order to eat a little bit that lasts for 7 days, but is not. And that's how we survive. At days when there was no food, we given a name. And when you're hungry and your face or your eyes can't see anything, your eyes can go dark, and we call a black day because there's no food in the area. It was a struggle challenging, both physical and physiological. The camp was unsafe, unstable, and dangerous environment. When a war broke out in Ethiopia in 1990, they shipped us back to a devastated South Sudan. After 2 years in transit camp, the UN Refugee Agency, known as called as South Sudan Lost Boys, managed to transport us to a refugee camp in Kenya. For the next 8 years, my life was difficult, dangerous, and certainly. Until the U.S. State Department agreed in 2000 to admit 3,600 Sudanese lost boys and lost girls, including me, to the USA. Though 25 years have passed since I came to America, and I now have a wife and children of my own. I still have a nightmare from the refugee camp. It was hard for me to feel safe. I still have the pain of my country. I send the money, but my extended family is in South Sudan are still struggle in poverty, disease, and lack of access to basic human services. Yet, on this journey, I found the resilience to survive. On this journey, I found the resilience to survive, to experience the rebel in a human kindness and resources. I do not know I passionate. Life is hard. Life is hard. We barely survive in America. I often experience a great difficulty in feeding, housing, and clothing my wife and children. But we are here. We are safe, and we are blessed. I may be a lost boy in Sudan, but I'm not lost in my heart. Coming to America, when you come as a refugee, what they do is just to put you wherever they can put you. So I was sponsored by IRC, which is International Rescue of Committee. My first place was in Hyde Park, 2001. We don't know nothing. I don't know nothing about America. I don't know nothing about money. I've never been in a life like this or shower, nothing like that. So I was in IPAC, group of 8 in one apartment. We live, we friend, and we happy. We don't know nothing. And then they leave us alone. And then we don't know nothing about the bill, to pay bill and all this stuff, nothing we know. We thought that you get whatever you get and then send it to your family or do things that you want to do. That's it. When you go for shopping, you don't even take back the change. You don't know nothing about the money. And then I moved to Chelsea. And then from Chelsea is a life where the refugee very much are. There can be an apartment, maybe 10 people in one apartment, so it's there, it's life. And then from Chelsea, I moved to Malden. Malden, this is where I married in Malden. Very much back home, I brought my wife, and then we had 2 kids in very tiny apartment, very small apartment. Kid in there, kid want to play. But we don't know nothing about that. We thought that maybe we can control them like South Sudan. And then from Malden, we moved to New Hampshire because life is hot, still hot. And then I drive from New Hampshire to Boston. I kill my car crazy. I have 250,000 mileage in my car. And I still drive, can stop, put water in it, and then slow down, and then I go. And then when I still in New Hampshire, so when I still in New Hampshire, and then I moved to Concord. A friend of a friend had apartment whereby nobody in there, and then they said, oh, you can come and stay here for 2 years. Now my 2 years is ending tomorrow, and I'm still going around, but the landlady, she's very nice. She's gonna let me until I find my place. And I think this is all about my life story. Thank you very much for your listening.
This morning's offering will benefit UU the Vote, a bold initiative created by the Unitarian Universalist Side with Love team. In the crucial struggle to build a genuine multiracial democracy, UU the Vote works to provide Unitarian Universalists with a thoughtfully crafted plug-and-play opportunity to get involved, to bring our democratic values to life. Engagement is a fundamental practice of resilience. If you are worried, choosing to take action, to do something small, has everything to do with your ability to stay involved, stay in the struggle. UU the Vote engages people in voter registration, issue education, get out the vote drives, voter protection, state leadership development, and more. There are so many ways you can participate, and at least one of them is possible right now. Please contribute to this important work as joyfully and as generously as you are able, as this morning's offering will now be gratefully and hopefully accepted.
Good morning. My name is Sam Williams. I'm the Executive Director for Concord Prison Outreach. First, I want to say thank you to the First Parish here in Concord for many years of supporting the work that we do in prisons. Concord Prison Outreach's mission is transforming the lives of incarcerated individuals through education, opportunities, and human connection. I also have to always lift up our founder, Di Clymer and Jean Bell, who many years ago decided to engage the Concord Prison institution in ways of education and support. So what I will do is talk about my journey, what led me to prison, but I'm going to do it in a poetic way because just to make it concise, I get very talkative. But I'll say to you that at the age of 19, I was facing the rest of my natural life in prison. And it was as dark as darkness can ever be in my life. And I can say that through what led me to being in that situation, there was psychological, issues and trauma and emotional collapse and educational failure, substance abuse, addiction, and just all kinds of other stuff. So this poem is a summation of my life. I'll recite it, say a few words, and I'll close. And it's called I Remember. And it goes like this. Myself. I remember believing that I was dumb. I remember believing that being dark-skinned was a curse. I remember feeling so ugly that I became numb. I remember reciting loneliness like it was a verse. My family. I remember not ever meeting my father nor seeing a picture of him. I remember feeling like my mother didn't love me. I remember being molested by a family member and how my life felt so dim. I remember not getting the hugs and the kisses that I would always see. My emotions. I remember the pain that just wouldn't go away. I remember how trapped I felt on the inside. I remember the loneliness that followed me each day. I remember the fear that would always make me cry. My education. I remember the mandate to go to school that no one would explain. I remember not doing homework because I couldn't do it by myself. I remember being addicted to the street life, using alcohol and cocaine. I remember being promoted by the Boston public school system, even though I didn't know how to ask for help. My incarceration. I remember the first time I went to jail and couldn't get a bail. I remember the anger I felt in the air when I walked into Walpole. I remember spending 13 and a half years of my life in prison because I failed. I remember making a commitment to change before I got too old. My consciousness. I remember saying to myself that I had a greater purpose in life than what I've seen. I remember hearing people in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous tell my story again and again. I remember feeling like I was living in a continuous series of bad dreams. I remember feeling like each episode was just never going to end. My freedom. I remember failing the pre-college course 3 times before passing it on the 4th try. I remember telling a young person that they didn't have to follow my footsteps and why. I remember receiving my bachelor's degree in prison and why this made me cry. I remember the first day I got out of prison and the last day I embraced my own lies. So in summary, and I want to acknowledge my friend Loretta, who I met many years ago and is a fierce advocate for education and empowering young people. And 2 things that led me to what we call resilience today back then. One, I knew I had a purpose greater than my situation, and I didn't know what that purpose was, and so I had to keep pushing myself. And as people mentioned earlier, I was committed to not giving up despite what the situation or the circumstances was. And the other one is I just knew that I wanted to be a better human being, right? And that how I lived up into being incarcerated wasn't representative of who I was in nature and spirit and love and goodness and power. And so lastly, I would say resiliency is something that, not something that you're given, but it's an art, it's a skill, it's something that you develop. It's a learnable, adaptable condition that I believe I've been able to step into. I am blessed and privileged to be here with you all today. I don't want to go further than I need to, but it's an honor to be with these speakers. It's an honor to be with you all. And today I am truly grateful that I found the ability to step into my resiliency and now to hopefully take it to the highest level possible. Thank you.
After decades spent preaching on a regular basis, I really do love this view of the congregation. I love you all. And I know that I am truly blessed when I consider the 8 billion lives or 8.5 billion lives being lived on this planet, based on what I know about them, I would choose the life I'm living. Hopefully that's true for at least some of you. I was a scrappy, smart, working-class kid who miraculously earned a history degree from Yale and an MBA from Harvard. I was offered jobs as an international management consultant, biotechnology executive, venture capitalist, and investor. This is not to brag. I was frequently overstressed, on the verge of failure, exhausted, and feeling disconnected from my true and authentic self. I had met the love of my life in college, Loretta, and we just celebrated our 45th wedding anniversary together. This is the family to which I belong. However, over 30 years, I ate very well, gaining 2 pounds per year on average. Until at age 60, I was 255 pounds. I developed hypertension, high cholesterol, fatty kidney, and sleep apnea. It seems I had been exposed to nasty pesticides and excessive antibiotics as a child, which helped lead to my metabolic disorder for most of my adult life. This eventually resulted in a chronic, untreatable atrial fibrillation of my heart and a pre-diabetic metabolic condition. So after 10 years serving as the senior minister at First Parish in Brookline, I resigned to travel with mystics and focus on my health. I didn't know how long I had, but I had always wanted to travel with the mystics. Even at its worst, my life was good, and I was determined it could be even better. But my health was declining, and my future seemed unknown and worrying. Now, having been high energy and outgoing most of my life, by 2014 I was increasingly moody, introverted, and lethargic. I began sometimes losing my sense of balance when I was tired or stressed. My doctor said it was just normal aging for someone in their 60s, but it felt wrong, premature to me. The day after taking ayahuasca with an Akura shaman deep in the Amazonian rainforest, the next day I fainted and fell head over heels, momentarily knocking myself out. 2 years later, traveling with the Knights Templar along the Camino de Compostela, I fell down some stone stairs, hitting my head and bruising my ribs. This wasn't normal aging. I was frequently wobbly and in pain, and something was wrong. For more than 20 years, my son Robert and I had made annual hiking trips to the North Woods and beyond, but now my cardiac AFib made such adventures impossible. Since the mid-1980s, Loretta and I had enjoyed twice-weekly volleyball games with friends, but now I was so unsteady on my feet I had to give volleyball up. I loved walking in the woods, but now feared falling while walking alone. So I became more serious about traveling with mystics in search of enlightenment, while I began to deal with my mysterious metabolic disorder. The body and soul are deeply connected. This time of introspection resulted in my writing 2 books, Spiritual Audacity, 6 Disciplines of Human Flourishing, trying to tell what I had learned over my 60 years, and then Spiritual Pilgrim, Awakening Journeys of a 21st Century Transcendentalist, how the mystics taught me how to be a transcendentalist. I was being treated by a general practitioner doctor, a cardiologist, a urologist, and a sleep specialist. Fortunately, we had the means to access the best possible care. They agreed I needed to lose a lot of weight, get more exercise, work on my muscular strength and my balance, eat better, experience less stress, and get more sleep. It all seemed a bit overwhelming. I joined a gym and got a personal trainer. I took up yoga. Yes, this Rhode Island working class kid does yoga. I bought a sleep apnea machine after my sleep specialist showed me that I'd stopped breathing hundreds of times during the night. In 2016, I lost 13 pounds and began to feel better. Loretta and I committed to a more plant-based diet. In 2017, I lost another 17 pounds, but was still technically obese. Then my weight loss and physical improvement hit a stone wall that lasted nearly 2 years. I was really uncertain about what was going to happen. In 2019, my symptoms had regressed sufficiently that I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Now, Parkinson's is a progressive neurodegenerative disease of the central nervous system. Symptoms can include tremors, slowness of movement, rigidity, and difficulty with balance. There is currently no cure. This wasn't welcome news, but now that we knew what we were dealing with, we could begin to develop a treatment plan. The underlying cause of the symptoms is insufficient dopamine delivered to the basal ganglia, involved in autonomous motor control. When my medicine isn't working properly, I have tremors in both legs, cramping, uneven posture, and falling, frequent falling. Memory issues and a disgusting bodily functions such as sinus drip, drooling, passing gas, and the loss of urinary control, all of which are controlled by the autonomous system. I imagine unless you love me, I have to imagine that over time I will be physically unpleasant to sometimes be around. Like many people with chronic degenerative diseases, after my diagnosis, I really was trying to figure out how to get on with my life. There was so much more I wanted to accomplish, and then COVID came into our lives. Given my age, ill health, and underlying medical condition, I was among the group most likely to die. I suffered, but I had to find a way through. So I studied everything I could learn about Parkinson's disease. The COVID lockdown allowed Loretta and me to better control all the factors in our environment. During that first year of COVID, I lost another 40 pounds. My energy level soared as I began using my Yale history degree to research and retell the untold stories of Concord. With assistance from a new personal trainer and a dedicated yoga teacher, I found I could recover much of the strength and balance that I had lost. I discovered long walks in the woods with people who cared deeply about me could provide a dopamine boost to augment my medicines, and human touch especially, hugging, could have a very similar positive effect on my dopamine levels. Now my doctors, my barber, my yoga teachers, and my many friends greet me with big hugs to boost my dopamine levels. Having cured my sleep apnea, I discarded the machine. My hypertension, cardiac AFib, and cholesterol levels haven't been this good in many decades. And I am surrounded by a circle of love, of people who love me. This is why I know I'm blessed. Our traumas are often unseen. By looking at me, you cannot imagine my suffering, or why I ended up in the emergency room twice over the last 2 weeks. But you can help. I wouldn't wish being placed up for adoption, or being a lost boy in a war zone, or being imprisoned as a black teenager, or living with a chronic degenerative disease upon anyone. Yet as you have perhaps noticed from these stories, it is living with and through these horrible experiences which provides the potential for resilience. I'm mindful that if Ralph Waldo Emerson's first wife had not died young, he probably would have had a happy life as a parish minister. He probably would have had a much happier life, but the world would be without his lectures. If Henry David Thoreau's brother John hadn't died young, Henry would probably have spent a happy life, a much happier life, living in his beloved older brother's shadow. But then we wouldn't have had his writings on nature and social justice. None of us should want bad things to happen to anyone, but we know they will. That is simply part of living. But when we find ourselves in that place, we have a choice to make, whether to cling to our cherished former situation, which might never return, and which desire and attempt to hold on to it may well crush the life out of us, or after a suitable mourning period, allow ourselves to be open to what more life may yet have to offer us. We can help each other. If you see me seated at church events, come talk to me, or even just give me a big hug. I love you all dearly. We are community. Blessed be and amen.
Let us take a breath together. Each week we gather to share and learn together, to help one another bear what we must, do what we can, and connect with all that is. We repeat this practice together, reminding one another to breathe, to reach out, and to remember that we are part of something greater than ourselves, and we are not alone. We deepen our connection to one another and to all that is when we share in one another's joys, sorrows, and sacred milestones. The sacred milestones that carried us to this time and this place in which we gather with open minds and loving hearts. Today we hold in our thoughts Ken Wilson, a First Parish member whose wife of 34 years, Linda Hardiman, passed away unexpectedly yet peacefully at home on July 4th. Linda was active in the larger community and a source of strength to her loved ones. May her memory be a blessing, and may Ken and their siblings, niece, nephew, and great-nieces know the comfort of a supportive community. We also hold in prayer Rhoda Miller, who passed away peacefully on July 12th. Rhoda was a longtime member of First Parish and helped to organize our Passover Seders and so many other parish activities over the years, including our search committee that introduced us to Reverend Howard Dana. May Rhoda's memory be a blessing, and may her children, JB, Asher, and Sydney, as well as their partners and Rhoda's grandchildren, be held in comfort and know the support of a community that cares. May the ripples of connection grow wide enough to reach all of our friends who are joining us today, joining us as visitors, as online witnesses, and or members of the Summer Worship Consortium. Blessed be the path of companionship that brought all of us here together today, in this space and online. Trusting this gathering made so meaningful by the presence of each of us, I invite each and all of you to share the names and sacred concerns that you may be holding today, either by typing them into the chat or saying them aloud in the space that you are in. We acknowledge and hold in our hearts all of the intentions and prayers, spoken and unspoken among us. We hold in our hearts all of those who have yet to find a place to call their spiritual home. May they find love, belonging, and peace. Our prayer continues with these words adapted from those of Lynn Cox. Great mystery, spirit of life and love, known by many names and yet fully known by none. We give thanks for this time and place of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again and again and again. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to speak up for the well-being of others and ourselves and the planet, May we forgive one another when our courage falls short. And may we try again. Grant us hearts to hold boldly, to embody our religious tradition and our values in living words and deeds. May our hearts open to embrace humility, grace, and reconciliation. Grant us the ability to learn and grow, to allow transformation upon us and within us. May we embrace the energy of hospitality, the willingness to sustain a place for the holy that resides in all being. Grant us a sense of being at peace in the world, even as we are in motion. Let us cultivate together the strength to welcome every kind of gift and all manner of ways to be on the journey together. To this we add the silent prayers of our hearts. Blessed be, and amen.
So the challenge is ours. Can we live deliberately, to front the essential facts of life, to learn what life has to teach us? Can we live deep and suck out all the marrow of life to know it by experience and give a true account of it? Living intentionally, we will still suffer. That's part of being human, but we may find resilience. For our final hymn, I've reached back to the 14th century Roman Catholic nun, Hildegard of Bingen, because many of us have wrong ideas about what it means to encounter the divine mystery as a Christian. So, hymn number 27, it'll be on your monitor. Please join me in the benediction. Go out into the world in peace. Have courage. Hold on to what is good. Return to no person evil for evil. Strengthen the faint-hearted. Support the weak. Help the suffering. Honor all beings. Please seat for the postlude. And what we've agreed today is, since these musicians have done such wonderful music for us, they've agreed if you want to come after this postlude forward to see their instruments, they'd be happy to show them to you. And our 4 speakers have agreed that we're going to go down during the postlude to the Parish Hall, and that we can all speak to anyone who wants to speak to us about these journeys there. So please enjoy the postlude.
Doug, how are you? Yeah, I wound up in the emergency room Friday night, which is why I didn't attend yesterday. And then I'll tell you about a couple. I'm okay.